takes a second for everything to load up. And then we are now live, and it takes another second or two for Instagram to add as well, because like I said, they come on in different manners. But usually someone will pop in and say hi from either Facebook or YouTube. As I'm losing my words. All right, guys, we have Dawn here from Twice Sheared Sheep. So as usual, we're going to be kind of just chill for the first few minutes while everybody arrives. So you want to say hi, Dawn?
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here. I love these things.
Go ahead.
Oh, I said I love these things.
Yes.
I love getting to talk to the community, and I'm super excited to be on with Jessie because she's amazing.
And look at this, Sarah. We've already got somebody who says they love Twice Sheared Sheep. Yay! Hey, and have I told everybody what my middle name is?
Are you a Dawn middle name? So fun fact, I have maybe met half a dozen or so Dawns in my entire life, but I have met an awful lot of people where Dawn is their middle name.
And were they mostly born around Dawn?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. They couldn't decide on a middle name, and they're like, oh, look, it's Dawn out. Hey!
Hey, I joke that I think I was born at like 6:30 in the morning or something, and my mom was probably like, look, it's Dawn.
Yep.
Oh, Monique, thank you.
Monique loves you too.
I love that our reputation precedes us.
I guess so, because so far everybody who's got something to say is saying something awesome. So, all right. And we have, I just like to pop over and take a look at Instagram every once in a while, but we have people, but not comments yet. So that's cool.
That is cool.
So I know that if you all are on Facebook or YouTube, you can see the link, but there's the link in the description. But also, guys, here is the link for Twice Sheared Sheep. It's really easy. It's twiceshearedsheep.com. Right? So like
saying it is a little harder though. I always feel bad that I created a company with a tongue twister for a name.
I have gone through years and years of speech therapy. So I couldn't even say my own name until I was in like middle school. So I can say Twice Sheared Sheep, and I can say it very happily.
I'm so proud because sometimes I stumble over our own name.
Yes. It took a lot of speech therapy, but I can say Twice Sheared Sheep. All right. I'm guessing definitely is in it's easy to remember. Yes.
Good. Yay.
So here we'll pop that off and go back to here. All right. So we've given everybody a little bit of time to get here, and we've got people in various areas. So, Dawn, why don't you go ahead and take a moment and introduce yourself and just maybe tell us a few fun things about who you are as Dawn.
Okay, so hi, I'm Dawn. I'm the owner and creative director at Twice Sheared Sheep. Fun fact is that this was my stay-at-home mom job. I have 5 kids. We're on the tail end of it, so I know Jessie was saying that she has twins who are all seniors this year, or
yeah.
I had a senior last year, but he was my middle child. So, and my youngest 2 are twins. And so then they're juniors this year, and then we'll be done. And it's a really strange thing.
You're 4.
I have 5 children. I have 4 boys and 1 girl. And so I always joke that I think that small boys in particular, are really just puppies, because if they get bored, then everything turns into a wrestling match or into a game of chase or something like that. But yeah, no, but 5. And my 2 youngest are identical twins.
That would make them both boys then, if you only have 1 girl.
It does make them both boys. Yes. My daughter is my second one, and she she got to be surrounded by a whole bunch of brothers, but that meant that,
Right in the middle, 2 above and 2 below.
one above and 3 below.
Oh, wait, 1 above and 3 below. Oh my goodness.
1 above and 3 below. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, and I started Twice Sheared Sheep because this was my the puppy stage still at 8. Okay, so I think that all men are still a little bit of puppies because
You know what's really interesting though? What I love about that is I'm thinking back and I'm like, yeah. When it's like it's such an interesting thing to me having a transgender son, because when I think back at him as a child, he did behave as a boy. Like it was totally like puppy, and then my daughter was the cute little princess. But he was the little mischievous little puppy all the time, even though like none of us knew that he was a boy yet. It's so funny. It's like all of these times when I'm like, I should have known.
Oh,
I should have known.
I just have to tell you at some point,
Yeah. Eventually he let us know.
Yeah. So because I have 5 small children, this was my stay-at-home mom job. And that when my daughter was born, so I had 2 small children. So other fun fact is I have 5 children, but they are very close together, like 2 years apart, boom, 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 which means that because the last 2 are twins, that when they were born, my oldest hadn't quite turned 6 yet.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how people do this.
I don't remember very much of the first year of my twins' life, but I do have a great picture. I do have a great picture on Ravelry, I think, of the 2 of them laying on their hand-knitted blankets. I had great plans to do I think that was the era when the Mason-Dixon knitting was really that book was really popular.
Yes,
and so the log cabin knitting, and I was going to knit them both log cabin blankets. And I think I got a square that was just barely big enough for a newborn for each of them before I'm like, I'm done. I tap out. And some of it was because there were 2 of them.
Sarah had the same thought that I had.
Yeah. So I think we did cloth diapers for a little while when they were little, because between the 2-year-old and the twins, that we had 3 in diapers, and the cost of diapers was over $100 a month just for diapers.
I know.
And
insane.
So we did cloth diapers for a while, and I totally knitted wool soakers, and did the whole knitty thing at that point. And but yeah, this was what let me stay home with my kiddos when they were little.
Now, here's the question. When you did cloth diapers, did you use Unicorn Clean products to wash them?
I did not.
You were missing out, man.
So I started out I just threw them in the laundry.
Yeah.
I mean, they went in their own wash load.
Right. Oh, well, obviously.
But I did learn I went through a very crunchy phase for a little while. And so I learned how to make my own laundry soap, and it was, grated, a really nice hand soap that I really liked. And then like borax and, washing soda and the whole 9 yards. And so no, I just threw them in the washer. I was not quite. And they were the cotton pre-folds, and so they weren't even the fancy kind that you get now that have like the microfiber and the snaps.
Oh, yeah. No, they are like I was amazed when I saw that they make like the like pre-fold. Because to me a cloth type diaper, it's like it's a rectangle. Mm-hmm. And you turn it into a diaper. It's origami baby,
and that's what when they say pre-folds, it means that it's not the size of a blanket. It's the size of, it's like this, where it's thicker in the middle. And then, it's totally origami diaper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because now they have some that are more like diapery shape, and you just like snap, and they have the snaps and everything. It's just like snap that sucker on and you're good to go. And I'm like, you're cheating. I mean, I never did cloth diapers on my babies, but I totally did cloth diapers on my dolls. And I taught my kids how to make cloth diapers for their dolls because, like you said, diapers are expensive. I wasn't buying those suckers. Not for the dolls. I made my own baby food, but I did not do the cloth diaper. We made our own baby food. I'd like to say I did it because it was healthier, but I did it because it was cheaper.
I did a lot of things because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
So, you know, our name for our company is called Twice Sheared Sheep.
Right.
And it's because I started out when my oldest was like, oh, she was a baby. She was probably still nursing at that point. And that I had just fallen hardcore into knitting. And it was pre-Ravelry. It was pre-YouTube. I'm feeling my age here. But it was in the era of do you remember the Yahoo Knit group that you'd get emails? Were you ever a part of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so it was during that era. And I
was like, yeah, pre-Facebook, man.
Yeah, pre-Facebook, pre-anything.
I know. These social comments make me feel old too because I was right there with you. I remember when Facebook came about, a bunch of us all came together into one group.
Yes. I think Facebook and kind of killed. I was part of a knitting parents group, and it killed most of that because we're like, oh, we could be MSN chat. Yes.
Yeah, I was in a couple crochet bloggers groups, and like I was in a crochet bloggers group, and there were a couple other ones out and about, and they all actually merged together into one crochet bloggers group on Facebook, so that worked nicely.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that the Facebook groups are so nice and helpful now, and the Ravelry threads are so nice and helpful for keeping everything organized and being able to actually share photos of things, and you know, because pre-digital camera, or actually even if you just had a digital camera, but it was like smartphones.
Yes.
And so you'd take a photo and you'd upload it to your computer, and then you would, you know, attach it to an email to someone. And now I still prefer my computer for things. And so now I have a Samsung laptop and a Samsung phone, and they talk to each other. And so I can open the app on my computer and download the photos from my phone directly, or interact with and so I do
the same thing.
I still download the photo and attach it to it or put it on. Yes.
We are that age.
At that age. But it was during that time that I really fell hard into knitting because I tried quilting and I tried a couple of other things, but with little kids running around, it was hard. I wanted something to do with my hands that didn't need to be out all the time, that everybody could mess with. And so I was also just a poor little church mouse because, you know, I had 2 little kids, and my husband's income was just enough to get by. And I kept seeing everybody talking about how amazing wool yarn was on these Yahoo groups. And I'm like, every wool sweater I had ever owned to that point was that itchy one that like grandma bought you. And I'm like, how can you like wool? And I had posted in there, and I posted in there about that. And I think that I had gone to a knitting shop. There used to be beautiful knitting shop in Boulder, Colorado called Spindles, Shuttles, and Skeins. Huge yarn shop, beautiful things, looms, wheels, everything. And I had gone in one day asking for sock yarn, and they pointed me to the Koigu. And they're like, look at this beautiful yarn. And I'm like, oh, you can't. And I'm like, you can't wash that. No, give me something that you could. And I could see the shopkeeper's face, just, it hurt her. I've changed my tune, people. But so I'd mentioned this in this group that that wool yarn is itchy. Why would you ever want to knit with this or whatever? And it was right about the time that hand dyeing was sort of becoming a thing, and yarn clubs were sort of becoming a thing. And I think Socks That Rock was maybe one of the very first in the industry.
I loved that, man. They still exist, but it was like my very first Rhinebeck I ever went to. I bought some Socks That Rock, and oh my God, I fell in love.
So they were just starting out and trying to convince people that hand-dyed sock yarn was a thing or whatever. And they're like, let me convince you that wool sock yarn is the thing. And they're like, give me your address. And they sent me a skein of hand-dyed
Aw.
yarn. And when, it sounds ridiculous when you say that a skein of knitting yarn changed your life, but it literally did. Because that wool yarn was so amazing compared to I'd only ever knit with like Red Heart or something like that.
Mhm.
And it gave in my hands and it was soft and the colors were so pretty. And I'm like, I need more wool yarn, but I have no money to buy wool yarn. And so I found a tutorial online on how to unravel thrift store sweaters for the yarn.
Yep.
And the first sweater and I'm like, well, I could do this. That doesn't sound too complicated. So I went to the thrift store and I found a wool sweater, and I found one that was like silk and viscose. It was like shiny and shimmery. And I'm like, ooh, this will be gorgeous. That'll be fantastic to knit with. Fun fact, do not buy that sweater to unravel because it's made up of about 10 strands held together. And
Oh no. I thought you were going to say it was like seamed it was like sewn seams.
no. So I bought a couple of sweaters. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have proper wool wash or anything like that at that point. So I used shampoo in my kitchen or in my bathroom sink and washed the yarn and then squeezed it out and then rinsed it and then squeezed it out. And I didn't know you were supposed to like roll it in a towel, or I spin it in my washing machine to spin in the spin cycle. And so I just squeezed it out really good. And then I hung it from the shower curtain and it dripped for like 3 days and I'm like, this is the most obnoxious process ever. This is tedious. Why would I do this? But about 3 days later, I was looking at the other 2 sweaters that I had bought and I'm like, I could do this better. And so then it became like an obsession that I would look at people in line ahead of me at the store and deconstruct how their sweater came apart, or how you would construct the sweater based on where the seams were and everything. I had unraveled more sweaters for yarn. Oh, I didn't have a Swift either.
Oh no. A chairback?
So Baby Gate set at 20.
Totally would work.
Yeah, set at 24 inches or something like that. I think I hurt my shoulder that first time because doing this motion is really not great for your shoulder. So then I had more yarn than I knew what to do with. And I saw that there were some people selling yarn on eBay from thrift stores.
Right. I remember that.
Yarn. And so I'm like, well, heck, I could try that. And so I put some up and it sold. And I'm like, hey. And so our business started from me selling recycled yarn from sweaters on eBay. And thus the name is Twice Sheared Sheep.
Oh my God, that totally makes sense. And the thing, and with like everything old is new again, like that would be huge right now still, because right now, repurposed and all of that is it's really made a big comeback because we're, doing lovely things to our planet, and people want to help save it. So yeah, I mean, I'm thinking anybody doing that right now would be awesome.
If you want to learn how to unravel sweaters, by the way, I have a very, very old blog that is still existing somewhere out in the universe from that era when I had tiny babies. It's called My Virtual Sanity is the name of the blog. But probably if you look up, unraveling thrift store sweaters or something, and you see My Virtual Sanity, that is my tutorial from like 15 years ago.
Okay, well, you have now given a challenge to Monique and Sarah, the mods here. I would not be surprised if one of them would be able to find that before this is over and tosses up a link. They're pretty awesome. Now they're like, ooh.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is literally the first thing if you type in My Virtual Sanity unraveling thrift store sweaters.
Okay. They're both on it. Like, yeah, is there Monique's? I'm on it. What's the name of the? Okay, yeah, see, they're on it.
Yep, there you go.
Oh,
But so that's how
good
I got
buttons.
started. But
Mm-hmm.
kind of the way that everything in knitting ends up being is everything is a rabbit hole. And so I learned to knit, and then I wanted good yarn. And so then I learned to do this other thing. And actually I learned to crochet as like when I was like 12 or something like that. And I think my first project was a pair of slippers that had like a separate sole and an upper, and you had to stitch them together.
Yes.
And it was not what
Now
you
there's
would.
like the slipper pattern that's like it's a rectangle and you fold it like this and this and this, and then suddenly it's again origami.
It wasn't origami. It was like a full-on seamed thing. Yep, there you go, Sarah. If anybody is curious.
All right, guys. There it is.
There's probably a picture somewhere on that blog too of my twins when they were tiny babies and laying on those 2 blankets that I gave up when they were like this big. Enough for the baby.
Monique says Sarah won.
But everything's a rabbit hole. So you start with crochet, and then I love crochet still. Crochet is so freeform in its ability to do pretty much anything that you want because it's 3-dimensional. But I wanted to learn to knit socks because my feet are tender and I wanted something that wasn't maybe quite so lumpy under my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do some of the things that I was seeing in the knitting world. And I think now crochet patterns are much more sophisticated than they were when I was learning to knit 15 years ago or 20 years ago. But so then I learned to knit, and then I'm like, oh, well, what is this spinning thing? I could do that too. And I learned to spin. And then I ended up with alpacas living in my backyard.
Oh my goodness.
And my sweet husband, bless him, he went with me in my minivan to pick up a pair of alpacas, and we loaded them into the back of the minivan and brought them home and I lived in the country. It's not like, you're picturing suburban.
Yeah,
Or
I live in North Jersey in like a commuter town to Manhattan. I'm not thinking my neighbors would be thrilled about alpacas in the backyard.
And I learned as I was going along that I saw people making these stitch marker things, and I'm like, well, that's just beads and wire. I could do that. And so I started making those. And then the more things that you're trying to convince your husband to move to Argentina. You don't have to move to Argentina. You can have alpacas now.
You live in Texas. Sarah lives in Texas. I'm sure that they'd be fine with alpacas in Texas.
It'd be fine. They're great.
Yeah, I have a hobby that collects other hobbies. That's the problem we have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that tends to be the case. But it's funny how that first skein of wool yarn from Socks That Rock literally changed the trajectory of my life. Because while I still love to knit and crochet and craft and all of these things, that is now the thing and the community that I found, and all of that is what literally feeds my family. My husband quit his job. He's worked for Costco for 20 years. He left his job 3 months ago now, and this business supports our entire family.
Oh my goodness.
Plus, it supports the family of, we now have 30 team members.
Oh my goodness.
Help us make things.
I knew you had one. I knew Katie.
So up until about 5 years ago, everything in the shop was made by me and my 2 hands, literally made by me and my 2 hands. And I reached the point where I could no longer make everything. And so I hired a friend from my local church congregation, and I'm like, I don't know how to be a boss. I don't know how to do any of this, but I can teach you how to make stitch markers that are really good. I can teach you how to make our row counters that are fantastic, and they're not going to snag the yarn, and they're really useful, and all of these things. And so she started helping to make things, and then we needed more people. And so we started hiring more people to help. And Katie helps with a lot of our marketing, and she helps with customer service emails. And the bigger we have grown, the one of the things that makes me so excited is this business started for me as a, when I first put that yarn onto eBay was the idea of, well, maybe I'll make enough that I could buy the milk this week. And I love I joke that I literally counted, okay, I have to sell this many sweaters worth of yarn. And, that equates to how many gallons of milk. And so when I think about our team members now, that I'm like, I'm making sure that other mamas and little kids, they have milk in their fridge. And that makes me really, really happy.
I know. I was at the beginning of the month, I went on a crochet tour of England, and they have, special guest teacher, Tamara Kelly from Moogly, who is one of my closest friends, right? She's one of my best friends. And so we're walking around the Roman baths in Bath, England. And, if you've heard her tell her story, it started where she was making all of these, her very first pattern that she made was the blackberry blanket. And she was making them and selling them to buy groceries. And so we're in the Roman baths, and we're looking at just totally awestruck. And I look at Tamara and I was like, so when you're making all of those blackberry blankets, did you ever think it would lead to this? And she's like, I was just trying to buy groceries, man. And it's incredible what this industry has done for so many families. Yeah.
Well, and I honestly consider it a huge privilege that I get to work in this industry, because I really don't think there are a more generous group of people on the planet than knitters and crocheters. If you are willing to spend, $25, $50, $100 in yarn for a project, spend 3 months making it, and then give it away, it is just the generosity and kindness of soul among the people in this community is the very, very best thing. Yeah. I love this community.
Yeah. I mean,
Monique, you're so sweet.
We do. I mean, everything you guys make, it's so great. And I love hearing that everything is handmade by you and your 30 employees, So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that when we talk about the reason why we make the things that we make, so it started out obviously of, I can make stitch markers. Everybody needs stitch markers. But it really turned into when people would say, I'm having this problem. I don't know how to solve this problem. And I'm like, I bet I can come up with a solution for that. So a lot of the tools that are on our website are the direct result of somebody coming and saying, either I had a problem or somebody else had a problem, and me saying, how do I solve that problem? How do I fix that problem? And so, and when I talk about what we're doing at Twice Sheared Sheep, it can be really easy to say, oh, well, we make tools, we do these things, they're pretty. But really what I think about is, have you ever had that moment where you...
I love this.
Yeah. So there's Katie. Yay, Katie. Have you ever had that moment where you finished a project and you look down at this thing and you're like, I made this. It used to be string and now it's this thing. And you just want it, and you want to shout to the world, or you're like, look, I made a thing. Can you see that I made this thing?
Exactly.
And I want to create tools that let you have more moments like that.
Right.
Where you actually finish the project instead of throwing it in a corner in disgust, or it goes in timeout because it knows what it did.
Yes. We have the naughty corner.
Yes, where you get to spend more time in your evening actually crocheting instead of ripping it all out because you blew past that increase or that decrease, or you forgot to change your color, or you were watching TV, or you were chatting with your husband, or you were in your knit group. And we all have those projects that we take to to knit and crochet night because they're simple. Because if it requires any thought at all, we know we're going to have to rip it all
because you're so busy chatting.
That I like to design tools that kind of raise that bar of what you can handle while distracted.
Nice.
So our row counters, which are so fantastic because you don't have, well, I am fully capable of recounting my rows. I can read my crochet. I can recount my rows, but if I don't have to every 3 rows, then I get more time actually crocheting, which is what I enjoy instead of counting.
Yeah.
If I've got stitch markers or things that help me remember to, where my edges are so that my crochet doesn't do this thing as I go along. It's just those little things that make all the difference in making your time enjoyable. So you actually finish the thing so that at the end, it turned out exactly like you wanted it. And you're like, look, I made a thing. That's what we want.
Yes, exactly. So the row counters, I think a lot of people know about using the row counters with knitting, but most people do not know how to use these sorts of row counters with crochet.
Okay, so let me tell you, there are 2 ways to use them for crochet. And it depends on whether you're knitting in the round or you're crocheting in the round or whether you're crocheting back and forth. So the first way, and this is going to change the way that you think about crochet, honestly, because we think about knitting, lots of things go on the needles, but crochet, we always tend to think about that things only go on the work, that they don't go on the hook.
Right.
But if you take your row counter with its loops and you put it on your hook, and then you put your hook on your loop,
right,
it just hangs out with you as you go across. It'll stay right there as you go across.
Yep.
And it doesn't go anywhere. And then when you come to the end of the row, you just pull it through both, put it through the next loop in the chain, and you have just marked that you are on row 2 of your crochet project. When you step away, pull the loop through both the chain.
Oh my goodness, how smart. And then just chain it on there.
And then your chain is stuck on here. And when you come back, you know which row you're on. And it's not going to be a case of, it's not going to be a case of, oh, my Post-it disappeared. It's, so you always know where you are. The other way that you can do it is every row counter comes with a little melody clip. So I call them melody clips because they look a little bit like music notes. Like
that makes sense.
So the melody clip you can use if you, when I'm doing amigurumi or I'm crocheting in the round, or even I have a very large crocheted Afghan that I did that starts with a central mandala.
Okay, yeah.
So the whole thing was done in a circle. That I would use my melody clip and I would put it at the beginning of the row. And then you can just, because it's a tension marker instead of a lobster, that you can just take the wire of the circle and just pop it in and pop it out. Move it to the next number and pop it right in. And so then that'll hang from your work where the beginning of your round is. So then as you come around, you know where the beginning of the round is, and then you can just pop it to the next number and count your rows. So those are my 2 ways to use a row counter on crochet. And that I really love to use it on my hook for the reason that I can lock it. But also I love this where it's clipped on is because then when I'm done for the day, I can just kind of fold it up and put it in my bag and it's still there. So yes, row counters, chain row counters are for crocheters too.
And remember, guys, that you can watch the replays of these on YouTube, on the Jessie at Home Crochet Foundry YouTube. We keep the replays. So if you need a new lesson after you like buy these from Twice Sheared Sheep and you're like, wait, how do I do this again? You can come back and watch the replay on YouTube so that you can make sure you're using them. And then another tip I would add is you then get another cute little just attachable chain marker, stitch marker. And when you go to 10, you hang it off of the 1. And then when you start your 20s, you hang it off of the 2. So you use that one to mark what the first letter of your tens is, number of your tens is.
So it depends on how your brain works.
Yes.
But when you reach the end, you've worked 10 rows. And you're like, okay, well, now I need to do 11 rows. So you can either use a stitch marker and put it in your 0 or in your 1 up here to mark 1.
You're on the 10.
1 and 1 equals 11. 1 and 1 is 11. Or you can use it to say, I have completed the chain 1 time. And then when you've done the chain 2 times, you move it to the second one, and 2 and 1 is 21. Or 10 and 2 times is,
yeah. So, whichever way your brain works,
whichever way your brain works. The other thing that you can do is that if you have a pattern that requires repeats, so you're supposed to do this thing every 5 rows for 10 times or something like that, you can use your chain and go down to 5 and then use your melody clip or any locking stitch marker to move it to the loop for every time that you have completed that nice. So that helps me keep track of things. And one of my favorite things is, like you said, if you use a different sort of stitch marker, these are our fall leaves that are in the shop right now. Yeah. That if you use a different kind of stitch marker, if you have to do something special on a specific row every time. So like on row 5 is when you're supposed to do your decrease. If you put your marker on the 5 and you're just on autopilot and you're crocheting along and you get there and you see this thing hanging from your 5 when you put it on your hook, you're like, oh, I'm supposed to do something here. Right. And then you don't forget to do the thing.
Nice. Yeah.
You know what the thing is, just do the thing.
Yes. That is awesome. I love that. You see, these are all tips that most crocheters do not know. I mean, you know, here we go. Always thought you couldn't use the chain counters with crochet. So these are things that most crocheters do not know, that these are tools that are not just for knitters. And these are tools that can really help us out a lot. That was when I was really excited about making sure you shared, because I think that being able to use them with crochet is amazing. And I didn't know that until this past H&H when Katie was telling me about it.
I think that a lot of crocheters think that anything that has a solid loop on the end is only for knitters. But what I have found is that a lot of times crocheters will tell me, so I test every product that I sell, you know, so I actually use it to see if it's going to be frustrating or irritating. And if it bothers me, I know it's going to bother you. But I've attempted to make row counters before that have hooks on them, because that's what every crocheter tells me that they want. Right. But when I use them, what actually happens is that you get to, you have to stop your crocheting in order to move it every row, because unlike knitting where it sits on the needle above the thing and it just kind of floats and keeps going.
Yeah.
That if you actually pin it to your work, if you pin it here when it's the top row and then you do 2 more rows, it's no longer the top row. And so every row you have to stop and move it.
Right.
And that's not very much fun. And so that's one of the reasons why I love when I put things actually on my hook, is because it continues to float at the top. And it's like our work and tell measuring tapes. So these are out of stock at the moment, but they will be back in stock next month. We have more measuring tapes coming. That this one, just like the row counter, you can put it on your hook. And what it does is, as you're measuring, you can set the little slider to the measurement that you need. So if you're supposed to knit or crochet until it's 6 inches, put it on your hook. It'll hang from your work right above your stuff. And for each row, this is going to get longer, and it's going to go down and down and down until your work touches the top of that slider. And then you know that your work is measuring 6 inches.
Nice.
It measures from this little cross right here in the infinity loop, which means it's going to measure just under your hook,
right,
which should sit right at the top of your crochet.
Yeah.
And so even though it has a solid loop on it, I promise it works so beautifully for crochet.
Yeah.
I use it all the time. And I'm excited that on our website, we now have, if you look in the heading, there's a section that says stitch markers for knitting, or it says, if you go to shop, and then there's a heading for knitting and for crochet. So we've got any stitch markers or notions that are crochet friendly and work beautifully for crochet are going to be under that crochet section. There's also the for everyone section that has like our journals in it, and those will work for anybody. So that has things like our storage tins and our project journals and our project bags and all of those sorts of things.
Oh, nice. I like this. This is super cool.
So if you look at that, one of the things that I like about that is I don't know if you can notice from the picture, but it has a crochet friendly gauge in the center.
Because it slides to the side as opposed to
slide to the side, because depending on your hook, sometimes the hook part is actually wider than the shaft part. And so that way you can get an accurate measurement of the shaft part.
You slip the hook in here and then you push it in, because with some of the hooks, you can't shove them through when they're getting to the smaller sizes. Yeah, where the hook is wider than the actual gauged area.
And the
here you go.
The ruler that's on the right-hand side, it has inches and centimeters, but because the piece is kind of translucent, you can actually place it directly over your work. And
that's what I was noticing first that I liked the most about it.
Yeah, that you can see through it to be able to actually see your stitches in the measuring without having to do it just on the edge.
Yeah.
And it's a full 4-inch gauge square. So, there's always that too.
And it's got the little journal.
Yeah, so it fits right into our journals.
And it not only does it fit into your journals, but people who have one of those pre-existing journals where you slide them on, if you want to grab one for the journal you already have, you sell this separately,
Yep, it'll fit a six ring planner binder.
Yeah. It fits in that, but it looks like it has the open edges on it too, right? So I don't have one near me, but there's the kind where it's not an open binder. It kind of slides on.
Oh yeah.
This one has those little teeth cuts in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does have the little teeth cuts. So it might work for a disc style binder.
That's what I was looking for.
I haven't tried it on a disc binder. I should, because
it has those teeth in it. Well, it looks like the top one and maybe the bottom one are a little wider at the top, and the others are just round at the top. So it might depend on what.
So they all have the teeth so that you can snap it in and out. So you didn't have to open and close, which I love. Which is how all of the disc binders are. You have to snap it in. You snap it in and out. But the journals come with all the things that you need. If you are more of an analog person and you like a physical record of things, or if you've been working on a project and you're going to work on this again, you can keep notes to make sure that you don't forget. And so all of the pages have information for you to write down about your pattern that you're working on. On the back side, it has for you to write down all of the yarns that you used and put a little sample of your yarn, and a pocket for you to put a swatch or your ball bands or any of those things. I kind of love the idea of, even if I give away a project, I've always got a little piece of it kind of in this scrapbook. That makes me really happy.
So each one of these pages is this pocket page.
Yes. Every one of those project pages is a pocket page. Yeah. Cool. And the binder the journal comes with dot grid pages. So if you want to write notes or things like that, it comes with the the graph paper. So
There's
if you
graph.
want to design out your own corner to corner Afghan or a Graphghan or something like that, you've got that to be able to do that. And my favorite thing, honestly, is I've got the little page protectors in here.
Let me make you a little bigger again.
Yep.
Where's my mouse? There we go.
That you've got the page protectors in here, which are big enough to be able to, if you fold a standard this way, if you fold a standard size sheet of paper in half, it'll fit inside here.
Nice.
And then as you are crocheting along, if you take your binder and fold it backwards on itself, take the snap and snap it right here. Then you can stand this up and set it next to you on the table.
That is awesome. So if you have your pattern that's printed out back and forth.
Yeah. So you can stand it up next to you, and it has an elastic bookmark that's in here. There you go.
There you go.
That if you can use your elastic bookmark as a ruler.
Yeah.
So as you're going along, you can.
Yeah, I've
My
got a
screen is mirrored and it's bothering me. That you can slide it to follow your rows as you go along.
Yeah.
So I that's actually my favorite function of the journal. Is
so cool, because I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, I love it. We've had this conversation before when we were talking about like books, and like I like spiral bound books for pattern books and stuff, because I like to be able to do that, and I like to be able to completely fold them like that. But so often you break it if you do. So to know that you can do that with these and it's not going to break it.
Nope. They are designed to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because I'm always like, oh, I can do this. And then I'm like, nope, never mind. As I crack the binding on my book.
You're like, oh no, my poor book.
Oh, well, I used it. It's been loved.
I think that one of the notions that maybe on the website that isn't in the crochet friendly section yet, because we had a customer suggest this, and I'm like, holy crap, that's the most brilliant thing I've ever heard, is if you find the cable locks. So honestly, you can go to this little search thing and just type in cable locks. Yep. So these little toggle guys right here that scroll down, way down into our photos of how we use it. Notice it's on a crochet hook there.
Oh my goodness.
So this was a suggestion from one of our customers, is that one of my frustrations in crochet is that, well, it's a blessing and a curse. So I can steal my hook to use on anything that I want. But if I just like pull my loop tight and try and wrap up my project and stick it in my bag, my hook is not going to be where I left it when I come back. No. It'll be at the bottom of the bag, something. But if you take one of these cable locks and slide it onto your hook, it'll hold your loop on your hook and it'll stay there while you're, which is phenomenal. And if you
is awesome if you're traveling, because that's when you're always losing your hook because it fell out of your project.
Yes. And if you use these little Susan Bates hooks, which these are the ones that I learned on, I still love my just simple little Susan Bates hook, is if you you want to make sure that you get at least the large ones, because we tend to use bigger hooks maybe than a lot of knitters do. So you can slide one on so that, because it doesn't have a big grip like the Furls crochet hook does.
Right.
But so if you put one on as a stopper and one at the other end.
Yeah. I was going to say you'll need two for that. Yeah.
Yep. And it'll keep your hook exactly where you want it, and it won't run away or disappear in the bottom of your bag, so that you've always got it when you come back.
Is it? Oh my gosh.
Monique, the bookmark gauge is separate.
So you buy, is there a full journal? Like, can you?
Yes. So if you see the ones that are the covers, that is the full journal, and it comes with the cover and all of the inserts except for the gauge square, the bookmark gauge square.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, that makes sense, because I would be thinking about, like, with these, some people might be like, okay, I'm done with it, great. But other people might want to keep their entire old journal with everything in it, put it to the side and buy a new one. You want to keep all the pages and everything, but you do not need to put aside the ruler.
Yeah.
And being the more expensive part of the journal, that's something that it does make more sense to just use that with your next journal. I mean, some people might, just stick some rings on there and keep using the outline of the book part of the journal. But I like the idea of having the full journal. You put it, and here's one complete journal of my projects, and then you set the next one.
Yes.
And by then you may have new fun journal covers.
There are 12 project pages in the journal. So, if you wanted to, you could set yourself a goal. If you're like, I'm going to do one project a month or one special project a month, and then you have a project page for it. And it's like, this is my 2025 right here in a journal.
So right now it looks like you have 2 patterns for your journal.
We do. We have the spring floral, which everybody adores, and the super, super cute chubby sheep.
I love the sheep.
I love the sheep too. Aren't they so fun?
Oh my goodness. Those are awesome. Oh wait, I'm behind on comments, and I'm like, it's 12:52. How did this happen?
I don't know what the question was for extra large. If it was about the cable locks, there are extra large cable locks.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm trying to remember how many millimeters is a US 15 needle, but do I still have one in my drawer? Okay. This is the extra large cable lock.
There you go.
I can fit my finger in this. So your great big hooks, maybe not a Q hook, but you can fit some pretty big hooks in here. That one won't fit.
Such a booger. Sometimes I think I only have that one so I can be like, mine is big.
Yeah. And I would say that for cable locks, you do want to, and for row counters as well, you probably do want to get a size large or a size extra large, because like I said, sometimes the hook part of a crochet hook is actually bigger than the shaft.
Yes.
And so you want to make sure you've got enough wiggle room to be able to get your hook through.
Yes, there are replacements for the journals. What is your shipping like for Canada?
So yes, we do have all refill replacements for the journals. All of the pages we have refill pages for, and they're sold separately. You can just pick them. Our shipping to Canada is subsidized. So we have free shipping to the US for anything over $50. We subsidize shipping to Canada, but I think it's $5 shipping to Canada, flat rate shipping.
Monique,
no, I'm sorry. It's $10 flat rate shipping to Canada.
Okay, so Monique, you want to figure out everything you want and put in a really big order to make it worth the $10 shipping.
There you go. And we do have the ability now to collect the duties at the time that you purchase, so you don't get any nasty surprises at the border.
Nice.
Yeah.
So here's a good question. Do you have wish lists or anything like that on your site?
Yes. So we do have a wish list function. I'm trying to think if it is shareable in order to give it to somebody else. So if you click on the journal, on the Chubby Sheep journal or something. All
right.
So scroll down, and below the add to cart, there's that purple button that says add to wish list.
And it's probably
and it appears over on the side, and notice it has the share buttons at the top. So share on Facebook, email, copy the link, so you can share your wish list with other people.
There you go. So Sarah, you can make your little wish list, and then you can share it to your hubby, and he'll know what you want. That's awesome. I
And
love
of
that.
course, if you don't know what you want yet and you are unsure, that you really, really should take a look at our Surprise Box Club. So we just opened enrollment for 2025, which
Where do we find that?
yes. So why is it not on our main thing? Well, that is a problem. If you search in the search box for 2025. So our Advent box is already sold out. So this is what I've been encouraging people to, if you're looking for a gift, this is the gift, that you get 3 boxes in the year, one in March, one in June, and one in September. And each box comes with 8 twice sheared sheep items. We usually use our boxes to launch new products or to have products maybe that are that never appear anywhere else in the shop. So that cute bag pattern right there was
I love that.
It was exclusive only for the box. You can't get it anywhere else. And we curate all the things. So if your husband or your significant other, or if you aren't sure what to get somebody that you love, we do all the curating and we pick the things for them so that they get things that we know that they're going to love. So that was everything that was in our surprise boxes this year, over the 3 boxes.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is my favorite thing all year long. And you really do get a really great bang for your buck, because while it's currently it's in early bird pricing, so you get a pretty good discount. But yeah, so the value is over $140 per box, and I think even at full price it's like $115 per box. So you get a really pretty good discount on all the things that are included. And you do get a full-size skein of yarn in each box, and you get notions and tools and bags and all the things. Remember, we're not a primarily a yarn company. So so our boxes are meant to be gifts to you. They're meant to be things that can deck out your project bag, because I don't know about you, I always have more than one project going at a time, and I need scissors and a measuring tape and all of these things in each project bag that I'm working on. And just gifts or things that maybe, so in our spring box, we had those, we had the blocking pins, the quick blocking pins. I don't know how many people told me that they're like, I've been eyeing those for years and never buy them for myself, and now I have them.
I love those things, man.
That I like to give you presents that you love, that maybe you wouldn't have bought for yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dinosaur.
Oh my goodness. Have you met Maggie from Yarnaceous Fibers?
No.
She is so wonderful. And I think she dyed so many of these bundles.
Monique is already putting together a giant order. And when I said to get a giant order to make it the shipping, she already was doing it.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I love those blocking combs, man. They're awesome.
Me too. I love them.
I have the plain white ones, and then they came out with like rainbow ones, and I'm like, I want the gay ones. I want the rainbow. I want rainbow everything.
I mean, because rainbow is just,
it's fun. It's happy.
Rainbow. Yes. Yes.
And that's one of the things that I love about all of your products is the graphics and everything. They're fun, they're happy, they're joyful, and they're not plain, they're not boring, and they're just really joyful, which is just, it's nice,
Well, and our brand aesthetic, while I like to say that it's clean and elegant or whatever, that I much prefer cute, happy, colorful things over,
yeah,
the basic, despite the fact that I'm wearing a brown sweater.
But you made it.
I did. Well, and it's
got
so
pretty
funny.
table-y designs on it.
When I bought this yarn, I I think it was at Interweave Yarn Fest in Colorado. And my family is in Colorado, and so I made an extended weekend after I went to Yarn Fest, and I had a weekend with my sister. And I pulled out this yarn to cast on afterwards because I was so excited about it. It's got yak in it. It's amazing. And she looked at this brown yarn. She says, very, very politically or whatever, she's like, tell me what you loved about that yarn that you bought it. Which really, I think, translated into why would you buy yourself brown yarn? But it's gorgeous. It's hand dyed, so it's got that variation that comes.
That's what I love about hand dyed yarns. When they're a solid color, it's not like a solid color. You can see the texture to the color, and like it's not so dark that you can't see the design in the cables. Like I just started reading this book that my friend Noelle wrote about crocheting with colors.
Ooh,
and like
yes.
cables with colors, and because she's a neuroscientist who works with vision, and so we're gonna have to go soon. But it's like, you know, she talks about what colors and what color combinations work with cables, and yours isn't so dark that you can't see the cables. You can still see them, and sure, brown might be boring for some things, but I think when you're talking about clothes, it brings out some of like the like pink in your skin, kind of, you know,
like it looks against my skin.
Yeah, you find the color that like brings out the prettiness of your own personal skin tone or whatever, you know.
Oh, I have to look up that book, because that's one of the things that's so fantastic about crochet is doing multicolored cables in knitting is a difficult process.
Yeah, and the beginning is all about color theory, and like, because like I said, she's a neuroscientist, but I just got it the other day. I met her in London.
Look at all of those long gradient.
Yeah, she's got some really, they're just beautiful. There was a page that had like a whole bunch of them all together at one point, but now I can't find it.
Well, and I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, so crochet eats up this much yarn per row, and to get that kind of separation of a gradient in a crochet project that has to be a really long gradient or something. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So I mean, she's brilliant. Obviously, she's a neuroscientist. She's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
And she just recently moved here. She's now my neighbor because she's teaching at Rutgers. So yeah. What's the book called? This is Colorful Crochet Cables by Nicole Stiles. RB Stiles. Rebecca Stylings is, I think, the name of her blog.
Oh my goodness.
Her middle name is Rebecca.
Can we just talk about what an amazing time to be alive as a crocheter? Because like I said, 30 years ago when I learned to crochet, everything was Holly Hobby or
I love Holly Hobby.
I know, but everything felt kind of chunky and looked I like crafty, but it felt crafty.
There's a difference between homemade and handmade.
Yes.
And it felt more homemade than handmade.
Yeah. That I'm like, that sweater on the cover is elegant. Look at the drape of it. It's not.
I've seen it in person. It fits Noelle beautifully.
It's not the bulletproof crochet of yesterday.
No. Oh my gosh. It moves so nicely. Yeah. Like I said, she wore it one day when we went to the Knitting and Stitching show in London, and she was signing the book there. And it just it moves just beautifully. Crochet is not the chunky mess that people used to think it was.
No, it's not. Oh my gosh, it's not. And you can do so much with it. So much.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's 1:04, which means our sit and stitch started 4 minutes ago, but it didn't, obviously, because I'm not there.
Go be with your sit and stitch.
Apparently, I have once again discovered a new friend. So I'll keep in touch with Dawn so that you all know what's going on with, anything else. And get those wish lists going and email them to your friends and family so they can buy you all sorts of stuff. And if you live in Canada, make them really big wish lists. And that way you can pay for the $10 shipping, although not like $10 shipping is a lot of money anyway.
Oh,
So.
Jessie, I know we had talked about a giveaway of some kind or
Yeah, and then
something.
I forgot to double check and I didn't want to impose.
Let's give a journal.
Okay.
I don't know how you
Okay, well, I'm just going back and forth and up and down. So at some point, say stop, and I will.
Okay, stop.
I clicked you, Sarah.
Yay, Sarah!
Definitely. That was Sarah replying to Monique saying that she loved your company. So that was Sarah agreeing that she loves your company. That was only like the 4th comment of the day.
Okay.
Cool. So Dawn, I will get you Sarah's information for that. And then guys, we'll make sure that I share, again, I'll put a separate post on Crochet Foundry and all of our various places just to remind you where everything can be found. And I'll put the link to the playback for anybody who missed it or for anybody who wants to learn some of these tips. We have a couple people over on Instagram saying that they've learned a lot, and that's awesome. That was one of the things I told Dawn at the beginning, was that I wanted to make sure you guys learned how to use some of these things you didn't know you could use. Not only does that mean that she can sell more products, but it also means that we now have more tools so that we can have the success that Dawn wants us to have. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Totally. All right. Then I'm going to say goodbye to all of our people right now real quick. And those of you who are going to be on the sit and stitch, I'll be there in like 2 minutes. Okay. Got to take a comfort break, but I'll be there quick.
Okay.
So we're going to end that.